back. And by back, I mean this is the first episode of Square Grouper. Thank you for joining us. My name is Fox. This is my co host, Dave. We're basically going to be breaking it down for you guys as it's the intro episode. So bear with us if it's a little sloppy or out of place or we forget things because, we're fucking stoners. But hey, neither here or there. We've been talking over the course of several months at this point, I guess, to sort of bounce around some ideas that ended up becoming this. So on the podcast, we're going to be talking about Florida's rich countercultural history, which obviously we named, our podcast after one of those aspects, Square Grouper, which if you're not familiar, it's a slang nickname that was coined by the smugglers who were dropping bales and locations for them to be picked up by other smugglers to basically move in and around the country, but the entry point was always South Florida. So yeah, we'll talk about that a little bit more as there's many stories that will cover all sorts of aspects of what we're talking about there. But we're also going to be talking a lot about the Florida medical cannabis market, the problems, ideally with the market. I don't want to say it like that, but as someone who's been doing this shit for a long time, we can honestly just give you some opinions. And, it's always nice to hear from patients. But genuinely, there's a lot of fuckery at foot because it's still a program in its infancy. And there's just a lot of, it's a weird place. So we'll get into that too, as well as, current events going on back home, our shit in the industry. And, maybe on some good days, we might have some good news to share with you guys. Or if not, a quote to make you think. But that's pretty much it as far as the intros go. So we're going to roll into this now. And I'm going to pass this off to my co-host for our bit of what's next.
So as far as like current events or news in the Florida cannabis market, the legal market, so pretty much Smart and Safe has almost gathered enough signatures to get on the ballot in 2024. It has to pass Supreme Court review. They have about 94% of what's required. 841,130 signatures. They need 891,523. They'll obviously get those. Will it pass Supreme Court review? I mean, we'll see. Will Governor DeSantis sign it? If it does, I guess we'll find out. But this is the bill backed by Trulieve. They've spent $30 million or so on it, so I figure they've already paid for the judges. But I don't know if they paid for DeSantis, probably.
I mean, I don't know. These dudes like lots of money, so who knows with those dudes.
DeSantis said no legal marijuana while he was governor.
Yeah, well,
And would it be funny to be like if he vetoed it? Like, would we all giggle?
I mean, would it be surprising? No.
It wouldn't be surprising. That'd be crazy.
That dude's pretty fucking full of himself from what I've seen. It wouldn't surprise me either way, whether he does the Jimmy Butler thing where you like look into a magazine when he's on his first team and they ask him a question, what's the jersey you'd never wear? And he's like, without a doubt, Miami Heat. But here we are now. And if y'all know who Jimmy Butler is, he's eating those fucking words. So, I mean, and it could be the cool thing. By the time it does come around, it could be the politically in thing to say, yeah, let's do the legal cannabis. And if he has ambitions for outside of the state of Florida, that could buy him favor with a whole new crowd, even at the expense of fluctuating some of his existing supporters. But, politics isn't my game, so I honestly couldn't tell you.
Yeah, so we'll see. You can't grow at home. You got to be 21 years of age or older. I think it's up to 3 ounces, 5 grams of concentrate. I don't know if there'll be a legal container law. I'd imagine. Will it be enforced? I don't know. So we'll see.
Yeah, that's the
Um,
thing. Like outside of I don't know. Yeah, that is weird, dude. Also, so you're almost at what fucking a quarter pound of weed to 5 grams of concentrate, which I think is like a little shitty. If they're gonna do 3 ounces of flour, they need to at least do like, if you're being conservative for the patient that just relies on concentrate, you probably want to bump that number up to 7 to 14 grams. For someone that's a heavy user that does not smoke flower at all, that is not about combustion whatsoever, that literally just fucking vaporizes with hash, you're probably looking at like an ounce, So I don't know. That's a little weird to me. I think the thing they're going to sell people on is um, 3 ounces of weed. You can have 3 ounces of weed on you and it's okay. And that would alleviate a lot of minor problems that, people waste time with those infractions when it happens and things like that. People still go to jail for that shit, depending on where you are.
what if
Um,
they kept arresting people for not having a legal container?
yeah,
I
that's
don't
the
think they
loophole.
would. I don't
I
think they
mean,
would.
there's always going to be that one cop with the stick up his ass. Who knows?
Good point.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a good question.
So this Tampa judge told this lady,
Oh, our Florida person of the week.
she didn't have to use medical marijuana. She could take Xanax instead for anxiety.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna say this. So when you first told me the story, I was like, "Ah, that's fucked up of him. That's a really stupid thing for him to do." And he corrected me and let me know that it was a sheep. A little surprising to me. But then I saw the picture of said judge, and like, you know, if you were to type in Karen in the Urban Dictionary, you pretty sure her face would pop up. It's like pretty synonymous with the shit that's coming out of her mouth, unfortunately.
She was definitely probably on Xanax when she gave that ruling.
Yeah, probably, bars and vodka, man, bars and vodka. But, I do know that it was a DUI case, and I don't know context of it. So I don't know if the judge was just being a prick because she was trying to like keep her, her marijuana. Oh, I fucking hate saying that word. That cannabis card, so that she could essentially smoke during a probation period where she wouldn't be able to like take other drugs. I don't know if this person with the DUI hurts. I don't know the context of all that, so I'm not going to sit here and, yeah, it's fucked up for a judge to sort of make that decision, but we don't know. The media has this weird way of like pulling things out of context. So I'd be curious to just like listen in on what that whole proceeding was really like, and whether it was just, this girl trying to convince the judge that she could still have her card so she could still smoke her legal weed, even though she probably just fucking was a danger on the road. Like, I don't fuck with DUIs, so like I don't really have a lot of love for anyone that gets one. I know we all make mistakes. I don't judge anybody on them, but like today, if you were to tell me tomorrow that you got a DUI, like I would definitely scold you. I'd still help you, but you're gonna hear it. Don't do stupid shit.
Yeah, don't do stupid shit and don't go to fucking court in Tampa and, say you smoke weed. They might tell you need to be put on Xanax. Like the lady's attorney says, all right, she'll get on Xanax. We'll get her
Yeah.
on it immediately, Judge. Thank you.
Did that work out for her? Did that help her case?
I don't know. Probably. I mean, I'd imagine telling a lady like that she's right is definitely going to help you every time.
I hate how wrong you are. I mean, I hate how right you are about that. Oh well. So that judge, that Pinellas County judge, gets our Florida person of the week.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. But hey, that lets you know how many people are zannied out in Florida. So forewarning.
They're everywhere though. They're not just in Tampa.
No, for sure. From south to bottom to top, top to bottom.
You avoid those fuckers like the plague.
They're everywhere. I think that's the most
Unfortunately.
prescribed antidepressant in America is Xanax.
Is it?
I think so.
How is?
Alprazolam, generic.
Really?
Yep, terrifying.
Huh. I don't know. I've had like one experience with Xanax where I'm like, yeah, and that's gonna be a no for me, dog. Never again. Never saw the intrigue in that, but different
Yeah, I
strokes
mean,
for
it just
different
makes
folks,
it.
I guess.
It's just a weird feeling, and like people that say, like, people that take that for anxiety, like it just makes you fucking black out. I guess I get it, but I don't know.
You ever watch someone take Xanax and try to have them like when they lost something, they're like, "Oh fuck, I lost my keys," and then it's just this continual like, "Oh fuck, I lost my phone," and it's just like this longer list of things that happens, and you watch this person just like either basically just walk around like de-stripping themselves essentially of all the little things. They're like, "Yo, where's this? Where's that?" Or they, I don't know. Some people, it's weird. I've never met someone who functions like who takes it on a regular basis and functions on any sort of productive level. But I could be wrong, man.
So that's what this judge, ruled to this lady, and it's getting national headlines because it's pretty cuckoo. So
Oh man,
we'll see what happens from that. Probably nothing, but
it's hard being from Florida sometimes.
they're trying to pass telehealth right now, and in the bill, there's like an additional 10 licenses for black farmers in Florida.
Good for them.
No, I don't know the stipulations of that offhand, but
I
it
don't
has to
think
go
they're
through the
just gonna be
Senate.
like, "Yo, you're black. Send us an application. We got you." Like it's not as open and cut as it
No, it's like
seems.
it has something to do with the Pigford licensing or something.
Just sounds terribly
We'll
racist.
see. So imagine 32 new licenses in Florida, let's say, because there's going to be lawsuit after lawsuit. By like 25, there'll be like, a good amount of licenses down here. We'll see. I mean,
You know what's fucked up? I don't really know how much I can say about this, so I will say this in generalities as best as I can. Um, let's just say it like this. There's certain states, right? Like in the situation that you're talking about just now that Florida's in with all these new applicants, where it's like, do you understand that if like someone gets approved and you don't, or vice versa, like you get approved and the 23rd, 4th, 5th person doesn't, or whatever the case is, those people can then fucking file with the state to be like, nah, you don't deserve that shit. Look at it again. And in my mind, I don't think there's anything more like, like, what the fuck? It is so much more competitive than you think. It's not like, yo, we're just going to award it to you and then you're fucking gold. It is
then you got to
just,
think about the existing companies with shell companies just doing lawsuit after lawsuit to full
yep.
competition.
It is. It's like not for the weak. And so having already worked, in that environment a couple of times, and then like it is just unlike any other market that I know of. Like I imagine maybe like the Prop 64 market for those people that are super commercial, just super mega grows. Like it might be like that, I guess, but it's also weird. It's not. I don't know. That shit gives me a headache and gives me anxiety. So shout outs to all those people that write licenses and do all that. That shit's not easy work, and no one ever talks about them. But without them, you don't get licenses. So it's kind of a crazy thing.
What if Chat GPT replaces those people?
So I've been fucking, and me and the homies been fucking around and inputting like data points essentially for things like write this, write that. And it's so, because sometimes the shit it comes back with is just like, oh, no, 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 no. But sometimes if you give it the right points and then correct it, it learns, from what you're asking it. And you can basically, like, if it doesn't understand the fact that you're trying to incorporate, like, I'll give you an example. Like, if you're talking about cannabis or extractions, but you're trying to incorporate something that involves thermodynamics, like boiling points and then compound conversions at different temperatures, you could essentially have it study those three areas to come back and have better input for what you're asking it to do when you're actually talking about the specific subject. And that's fucking crazy to me, because it does it in a time that it takes a person like 8 years to figure that out. This shit does it in like minutes. It's pretty crazy.
Scary world.
I know. You just have to, like, I think it goes back to, like, you got to get into something that, like, people will always need, even if everything gets like, we will never trust robots to fucking cut our hair. We will never trust robots to tend to our dead. We will never trust robots to fully handle all of our food. Maybe at some point, a lot of the fast food experiences and things like that, like, yeah, for sure, all day. There's a lot of skilled trade jobs that no matter how well a robot can do them, people will always want something that was made by hand. If what you're doing doesn't fall into those things, then, like, just, I don't know, maybe take the time to reassess how learning something new could be fun before it becomes something that you're like, fuck, I need to do it.
It's definitely going to change cannabis. We'll see how. I don't know, for the better. I don't know. For the worse, maybe, probably.
You never tell, dude. Shit is so weird. You can just never tell. Like, and then traveling a lot, it's like weird because I keep my ear to the ground, and it's to multiple places at all times for many different reasons, but a lot of them are always the same. And Florida's always at the top of the list. But yeah, I just hope that they figure it out soon, Like, okay, let's say, like, let's just play a game, right? Let's say, like, best case scenario, Florida stops fucking up. Florida does rec. Florida does home grow. Florida's the first state to figure out international trade commerce. So now we start fucking kicking off out to Jamaica and the Caribbean and other places. Like, there's no, that's the bigger thing where it's like, yo, you're bitching about this small shit, but, like, there's a lot, like, the other side of the world has figured this shit out much quicker than we have, as far as, like, how to make this successful on many different levels in many different areas while contributing to the medical aspect of it all. But when you get to that international side of shit, it sort of sucks because you have to remediate any flower before it leaves, and one country to the next. So they either, like, do it with, like, radiation or other methods. So that's the shit they don't. But anyways, sorry to go off on a little weed rant there. So if Florida did everything right and Florida was just, like, that cool weed state, dude, I don't know. Like, if Colorado got like 73 million that first year, I'd be curious to see what the numbers are on, the revenue once they go rec, off the tax. Like, what, I can't imagine it's going to be less than 100 million that first year.
Yeah, I mean, like, I don't even know what the tax rate's going to be at in that Smart and Safe. No one's talking about that. That might be a hidden banger.
Not for the people paying the tax. I mean, if it's going back to the kids, and it's going to like get the fucking poor off the street and like helping them, like, or just going back into like fuck both those things. And I love the kids and I love helping others when I can, but like maybe preserving Florida's wildlife, like that would be fucking dope. Um, I don't know. It's weird. That's like a lot of money that they're not talking about essentially, So in different states that tax varies, but it's always like above 20% if it's rec, essentially. Maybe the smaller states it's a little less, but it's always within like 25-35%. Some states it's a little more. In California, certain cities will tax you a little bit more. It's insane, but you're usually right about there. So, and then what does that do to the medical market? That's my biggest thing. It's like, okay, cool, boom, you get adult use. So who becomes your adult use producers? Because ideally, that's the whole thing too. The way they've set up this vertical integration thing, only one of two things can happen. They essentially grant the medical producers the ability to grow and produce and sell for recreational, because for them, the only thing they have to do is open up adult use centers, like 21 and up centers, essentially. Same fucking format, same everything. They're going to make it like, if you've ever been to a state outside of Florida, like ABC Liquor, or, some states have liquor run state stores where that's the only place you can really get your shit. I imagine it'd probably be something like that if we're talking rec. It's not going to be like, you're not going to see a bunch of funny name, cool name shops pop up. Like, nah, you'd be lucky to see Cookies. Cookies put themselves in a interesting position to do all that. And I know we said we weren't going to drop, but like, it's just an example, right? You're not going to see like outside brands like open up shops suddenly to become cannabis sellers. I don't think it's going to be like that. You're only going to see people that are existing licensees open up like, adult use places, 21 and up places. There'll probably be less of them, but they'll probably be much bigger. I'd imagine so. But who knows? I could be totally wrong. They could just fucking start dropping them everywhere. But I imagine that's going to piss people off. So they'll probably have to be thoughtful about that, where they won't want to add them to the existing medical dispensaries because the traffic's going to be out of control. You're going to create problems. You want to put them in places big enough where you can handle the numbers.
If Trulieve backed it with $30 million, and C is existing because they have over 100 stores. So that's probably what it is.
Well, that's the thing too. And then as a company, let's say you have like 100 locations, whatever. That's just a number. And you notice that I don't know, your most thriving medical locations are really only at like 68 spots. So what are you doing with the other 32? Like maybe just convert them to adult use instead of having break ground. But also they're restricted on what Florida will recommend. Well, that's the fucking gambit where I could say this is probably going to be how it is. I imagine for sure like the state store vibe, 100%. But it has to be big enough that they can like literally serve thousands of people in a day. And I imagine those first places are going to sell out immediately. Like you're going to have people waiting outside like they were buying fucking Nintendo Wii's and stuff like that,
It's going to be whack.
Yeah. It's this whole thing where they're not, maybe they haven't thought about it, or maybe because it's so far down the road, they're just like, they don't want to deal with it. It's a lot to roll out for a big state. So you never really know. It just kind of goes either way in the sense of like, okay, if Florida gets adult use, let's, take aside the whole other shit I was talking about. 'Cause the moment there's no homegrown site, which is heartbreaking, but, I'm curious to see how they would handle adult use,
Yeah, it's a lot to think about.
And then like, if they've already mentioned concentrates, that would imagine that they're talking about vape pens. maybe they'll only do it where it's like, at first the medical program did even have smokable flowers. So like, what if they're just like pre-rolls and vape cartridges for rec, and that's it? And maybe edibles, like fucking $30 100 milligram edible bags, but to the bag, not like each. I imagine they'll be super expensive. I don't know. It's so weird to think about, and so if they allow you you know, up to having 3 ounces, that means they'd allow you to purchase at least 3 ounces or up to the equivalent of 5 grams of concentrate, which sounds like they're setting rec rules already. I haven't looked at that bill. If you look at if you fucking send it to me, I'll look at that shit and kind of just tell you what I think. But I never really
We'll talk more about it though once we go over it. But besides that, we want to try to bring some people on that are in Florida doing something legal or not. Maybe they've left the state to pursue a legal career, just like Fox here. So we'll see. Some of these episodes will be interview episodes. Some of them will just be like this kind of format with current events and news and just things like that. But we do have we want to interview some historical people and kind of lay the groundwork for some, younger people or younger cannabis users that don't realize, how rich the Florida culture is. And that's not just about like certain strains and things like that. It's all kinds of different things.
Yeah, and certain people who made it happen. It's cool. Like, you don't think about it, but if you grew up in Florida and you were smoking a particular strain, and you're like, yo, that shit's my jam. Like, I love this certain strain. I'm not going to name drop on it for reasons down the road, but when you finally, like, when you're in the workspace, right, in cannabis, and eventually you start meeting breeders and other growers, and you're like, yo, this guy made this, that guy made that, and you put faces to the weed you've been smoking your whole childhood. It's kind of like, it's surreal. And the conversations that you get from people like that, because they traveled, and you realize it's such a lot of this industry on both sides of the fence, whether those people are still in Florida now, they came from Florida at one point. And I don't want to say everyone, but I just want to say there's a majority of people making a impressionable difference on all sides, whether it be in the grow and the lab, as having a successful brand outside of Florida, or whatever the case is, making a difference in any way possible. Pushing the envelope of certain techniques or certain things, you're gonna find that there's a lot of Florida boys and girls out there fucking crushing it. So we'll definitely be talking about that. All right. So that means that we are going to be wrapping up this first little episode. As we sort of work out the kinks, I just want to thank you guys for listening. If you want to see more or stay tuned to what we're going to be doing as far as the podcast goes, I would love for you guys to go and check us out on Instagram at Square Grouper Podcast. And this podcast will be available on Spotify and a couple of other places, from what I understand. So yeah, follow us. We will be doing, we will have more content on the page. We'll be, obviously posting up about upcoming episodes. In the future, we will have ways for you guys to show love if you choose to do so, if you like what you hear, but also if you have any, we also love feedback. So, in whatever way you guys are listening to this, love it, hate it, ideas, stuff you'd want to hear, especially if you're from back home, if you're back in the swamp, we want to hear from you. Let us know what you think. And we really, really appreciate you listening. We look forward to cultivating this into something fun and funny and true to everything that is, the craziness of Florida. So I just wanted to thank you guys. Oh, before I forget, do we have any good news?
No, no good news today, unfortunately.
All right. And so usually I'd leave you with something to think about, but I'll keep it like random and sweet. Um, be the person that you as a child wishes that you could be now. So like you probably can't be an astronaut if you're like trapping, but like maybe you can. Who knows?
Uh,
The more you know.
we'll all be astronauts one day.
That's actually true. If the way that things are going, please, on that final note, take care of your surroundings. Florida's a beautiful place. Um, you know, let's keep it clean, like for real. All right. And with that note, thanks again, guys. You'll be hearing more of us, and I'm sure we'll work out the kinks here in the future. So thanks again, and stay tuned till next time.